I want to make another tutorial just wrapping up some of the effects and processes that we've used for project one. Just as a recap, as you get ready to finish up your project going towards Monday. So I'm just going to walk through a couple things as reminders. I'm also going to go over another technique that might be helpful if you find yourself a little bit stuck and not sure still which direction to take. So I've opened Adobe Audition and we're going to go to multi-track or new file, new multi-track session. I'm going to title this project 1 and then my name, and then I can choose where the project is saved. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to make a new folder titled project 1. I can press choose, press OK. And some of you have expressed interest in taking samples and sounds from certain movies or video games. So I wanted to show another option you can think about when kind of constructing those worlds by taking samples from these games or movies and bring them into Audition, and instead of arranging them maybe in some of the other ways that I've shown in class, you can start thinking about it as a soundscape. So a couple easy ways to do this is I'm first going to bring in just a sample that I used from one of the other projects. I think you might be familiar with this one. I'm going to bring it in here.
In spring, the dusty hues of the desert are brought to life with the arrival of...
Okay, and so I might even, this is the video clip from using the flamingos. I'm going to try to find a section that doesn't have music over it. All right, so here's, sounds like an audio clip of just the flamingo sounds. So I can press R on my keyboard, or I can come up here to the razor tool, and you'll see the cursor looks like a little razor blade. I can cut out a section. I'm just clicking on this audio clip, and I'm cutting a section out of just this sound. Now if I come back to my move tool, which is just V on the keyboard, I can click and I can copy it, or I can hold down the Option key and bring it down. It will duplicate that clip. If I copy it, which is Command C, and then I bring my playhead over here, I'm selected on track 2. If I press Command V, it will paste it on track 2. So let me just go ahead and mute the original track up here on track 1. I'm going to delete this part. Let's listen to this again. So we can take just this sound and we can extend it and apply effects and manipulate it so that it can start, taking up a lot more kind of auditory space. A good way to start off is by stretching the timing of it. I'm actually going to increase the volume first, so it's going to be louder now. Apologies that that's a little too loud in the recording. Maybe I'll bring it down just a tad. So I want to change the duration. I want to extend it. I want to stretch it out a lot. So if you don't, I'm bringing my cursor up here, hovering over this kind of white triangle, and I get the little stopwatch. I can click and I can stretch or squash it. If you don't see this, this option to come up here and stretch it out, you can right click or control click on the clip, come down and stretch, click on stretch mode and press real time. And then that should be able to, you should be able to see the stopwatch now. So as you can tell, when I stretch it out, it starts sounding a bit distorted. This is pretty much always going to happen with audio clips. If you stretch them out, the computer is trying to, figure out what to what information to put in those gaps, and so it starts sounding a little weird. But it's okay if it's a bit weird. We can work with some experimental sounds, and it's all right if it's a little bit messy. And you might also start repeating it and layering it over each other. Start seeing. And maybe we blend these together a bit. This should blend a little bit. So now instead of just that one clip, now it's kind of, the sound is repeated. And if you keep doing stuff like this, it's going to start sounding pretty abstract. Another option is you can change the pitch of it. So if I have a clip selected, I can come over here to properties, and under pitch I can change the semitones. I can move the slider down or up. I can move it down a lot. So that's changing the pitch, and I can make it higher as well. So I'll make it a little bit lower. If you like how all this sounds together, you can select all the clips. I'm just clicking over here. I'm kind of dragging and selecting all three. And if I right click or control click, I can find where it says merge clips. I click on that. Now it's all one clip here that I can move around. You can see here. Okay. And now you can also reverse this. That's a kind of a quick way to kind of get some weird stuff happening. If I double click on this clip, it opens it in the waveform view, the waveform editor. Then I can come up to effects and press reverse. So now the audio has been reversed, and we're going to play it back backwards. Okay, so it starts sounding a little bit different. If this is already kind of a pretty abstract sound, so if you have something like clearly defined vocals, playing them in reverse is gonna have a very specific effect and start doing some weird things that you might like. All right, the next thing we can do is start putting on effects to this clip. And we can come over here, come to effects rack. So if you don't see effects rack, you can either go to window and click on effects rack, or you should be able to expand out this little arrow here and then click on effects rack. So we're gonna select clip effects. So if I have track effects, it'll affect everything on track 2, but I'm just gonna do clip effects. I've selected this one right here. I can add an effect. Let's go ahead and put on some reverb. See how that sounds. We can change, we can use a preset. Let's try. cover it. All right. You can see how that starts changing some things there. But maybe we want to change the reverb over time. We want to have less reverb at the beginning and more at the end. We can come up here, this little arrow here, and then under Studio Reverb, which is the effect that I applied, it pops up here now. And I'll come to I'm going to try the dry output level. And when I do that, it adds this line right here. If I hover over it, it says Studio Reverb dry output level. So now I can directly edit this parameter over time. So if I hover over it, I get the little arrow with a plus sign. I can click and it makes a little blue diamond. If I click again, I have one over here, and now I can click on each of these diamonds and change this. So let's say I want to have it increases. So you see it's increasing percentage. Let's go really high at the end of it and really low at the beginning. So now we should hear that effect change from the beginning to the end of this clip. So it's really heavy here. You hear a lot of reverb at the beginning, and it slowly changes. If you want to do a sharper transition, and I'll just show you, you can keep adding as many of these blue diamonds, these key points, as you want. So I'm going to make another, and then I can change the shape. So let's say it's going to change suddenly, like it's going to have a lot of that effect, and all of a sudden it's going to snap up here. So did you hear that difference? That's being controlled by me editing the values for that specific effect parameter. And I can change this, I can add more, I can make a zigzag so it goes up and down. You can add another one here. Okay, so you can do this with any effect that you put on here. So I can come and do the exact same thing with, say, parametric equalizer. And I have this effect here. If I come back to this arrow, click down, now I see the parametric equalizer. I'm going to do low shelf frequency. And now it made a little line at the very bottom. So let's see how this changes over time. Did you hear that change? As soon as it hits this point, it's a major difference. So I know it might be a little confusing at first. You might not know what to do, but this is going to be experimental. It's okay if it gets a little messy. It's okay if you start editing some of these effects, doing some weird things, and if you kind of go making this soundscape with all kinds of different sounds and weirdness happening from these clips and samples that you're bringing in, that's okay. We're learning about how to manipulate these sounds. We're learning about how to layer them on different tracks, how to edit them, how to change them, and just work with audio samples in general. So I can do the exact same thing. Let me try to find another sound from this video.
They have migrated this dusty plateau high in the mountains. Flamingos dance this dusty plateau
Let me just try using a vocal sample here. I'm going to move it down to track 3. And if you want to see a bigger view of the clip that's on a specific track, I can bring my cursor over in between, click and drag it down. I can also zoom in so I can see samples more. So let's go ahead and reverse this so you can hear the difference.
Of silver phones, is it?
Okay, so that's what happens when you reverse a clip.
Of silver phones, is it?
I think it starts sounding a bit funny, but you know, that's okay. That might be an effect you're going for. Let's also stretch this one out. Let's go crazy with it. Let's stretch it out a lot. So it only allows us to do 800%. And I'm going to start putting some effects on here. We're going to get real crazy with this one. We'll go to modulation. I'm going to go to my trusty phaser. Let's try. I'm going to make this a lot lower. This actually has this clip. I forgot to mute it, so that's why we're still hearing that. Let's just see how these sound on top of each other. I'm going to try putting on some more effects here. Why don't we try an echo? I'm going through different presets. All right. Let me do an equalizer. I don't really like some of these high frequencies, so I'm going to take them down. All right, so I completely understand this is starting to sound really strange, and anytime we're manipulating these audio clips as much as this, it's just going to start sounding kind of alien or, you know, otherworldly, which, you know, this is just another option if you're feeling a bit lost. Try to make the most interesting composition from all these heavily edited and manipulated audio samples. And then, you know, to ground us, you can always come back to the loops, the drum loops. Let's find one. This, you know, maybe it's something here will work with that kind of weird sounds over it. We're going to try this one. Bring it down to track 4. And now if you choose a drum loop and you want to repeat it, I can hold down Option and click and drag. It duplicates it. And then as long as I have the magnet, which is toggle snapping, I can they will snap together perfectly, and then I can very quickly start putting these loops together, so they'll be seamless. And again, I know that starts sounding really weird, but this is definitely an open-ended project. A lot of room for experimentation, a lot of room for messiness and weirdness. The important part is to see that you are trying different things, that you are collecting samples, you're thinking about different ways of using these sounds, chopping them up, manipulating them, doing all kinds of different effects and or different processes. I know some of you have tried other ideas like chopping up different sentences, putting them together to make kind of a larger story. That's also acceptable. This is just another way that I didn't really go over in class that I wanted to share before the weekend. So please feel free to reach out to me, ask any questions. If you have any problems come up, also I might refer you to other YouTube tutorials. They're always helpful as well. And please get in touch if there's anything else I can help with. And I'll go ahead and go over the exporting process. So after you're done, you're going to need to save your final audio file and then upload it to Canvas. So in this case, using the multi-track editor for Adobe Audition, you may have lots of different clips spread out over, beginning, middle, end, and all over the place in your multi-track view. If that's the case, and everything's a little bit disorganized, which is okay, you might just have lots of different samples hanging around in different areas. You can select a specific area by clicking, dragging all these different clips. I'm actually going to delete a couple of these. So I'm going to select just these clips that I was experimenting with for this demo. And if I control click or right click, I can come down to export mixdown, and I can choose selected clips. If you're also welcome to export the entire session, if you do this, it will export everything that you have in multi-track. So if you accidentally have some samples that are a little bit beyond it, it's going to export that as well. So that's why sometimes it's helpful to select the clips you want and then export and select selected clips. So I click on this. Format, we're going to do MP3 audio. It'll choose where I want to save it at. I'm going to come down to my project folder. I'm going to make a new folder in here called exports. I'm going to press create, and it titles the track what you've titled it plus mixdown, which is fine. You can keep it that way. And I just press save and press OK, and it just exported it. So now when I come here to Project 1, exports, here's the MP3 file. I can play it. Okay, and now that MP3 file can be uploaded as a Canvas submission. Please, if you have any questions about submitting or exporting, send me an email or look up for YouTube tutorials on exporting from Adobe Audition.